visible, sir. I
Okay,
think.
great. Let me just make it full screen
Yeah.
and the that will continue being yes. Perfect. My screen is now visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Shall I start, sir?
Yeah, I leave it in your good hands, Supriya. Maybe you can either you can take maybe a minute or two more, or you can start.
No,
I'm
no.
fine.
We can start, sir. It's already
Okay,
3.
please. Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Creative Weekend Talk of episode 179. I'm your host, Supriya Nayaka. At Creative, our vision is to nurture constructive thinking across diverse fields. We go behind textbooks, exams, and academic routines to explore perspective that ignites curiosity and deeper understanding. As a registered trust, we are committed to build a vibrant space for open learning, driven by conversations with passionate minds from various walks of life. Today's episode talks as on a fascinating journey into a Sanatana Dharma, where mythology, symbolism, and spirituality beautiful intersect. The topic of today's talk is Chidambaram Nataraja, a journey through space and time. Our guest speaker is Mr. Girish Muralidhar, a HR professional by occupation and a writer by passion, writing under the pen name Shiva Dasan. He brings alive the depth and richness of Itihasa Purana and scared geography of kshetras through his evacuated narratives. Encouraged by his parents, grandparents, and his wife Aditi, Girish waved together illustration stories, local legends, and temple histories, connected them back to the Vedas and Puranas with profound insights. His writing, often shared on Facebook, reflects a deep love for his living traditions of Bharat. Residing in Bangalore, he hold long conversation about the temples of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, which forms an integral part of his family shared spiritual exploration. We are thrilled to have him with us today and to reveal the symbolism and the cosmic dimension of the Chidambaram Nataraja, one of the most philosophical rich forms in the Hindu tradition. And I want to mention here our program is live streaming on our YouTube channel, Creative GBD. Feel free to revisit this session and share it with others whom could enjoy today's theme. So, without any further delay, I like to welcome Mr. Girish Murali sir for today's episode, and I welcome one and all for joining us today. Thank you, sir. Over to
Har
you.
Namah Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadeva Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda Chaitanya Shashvata Shanto Vyomatito Niranjanaha Bindunada Kalati Tatasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Matamaha Mahashailam Hastadapitamaham Karanam Jagatam Vande Kantadu Parivaranam Surasura Sevita Pada Pankaja Kare Birajita Kamaniya Pustaka विरिंचि पत्नी कमलासनस्थिता सरस्वती नृत्यतु वाचि मे सदा दर्शनात् अभ्रसादसि जननात् कमलालये काश्यन्तु मरणान् मुक्तिः स्मरणात् अरुणाचले श्रीहरे नमः नमः सभाभ्यः सभापति. A very special sabha has come together today to hear about the Mahima of Bhagwan through the kind consideration of Supriya ji and earlier Srina ji, who I had the good fortune of speaking with. I have the good fortune and the honor to be here on this forum, episode number 179, if I'm not mistaken, to share a little bit about what I know about Chidambaram Nataraja. In this online sabha, my parents, Srimati Geeta Muralidhar and Sri Aleman Muralidhar, my grandmother, Srimati Lakshmi Pichumani, my aunt, Srimati Rani Ramaswamy, my wonderful wife, Srimati Aditi Rao, my parents-in-law, Srimati Premlata Rao and Sri Sudhir Rao, have all made it here today, and I'm very grateful for that. In addition to them are also my gurus and my acharyas, extended family members, friends, work colleagues, past, present, and maybe even future. And various other devotees have also come together today. Through Bhagavan's Anugraham, this Zoom call becomes the sabha for us to understand a little bit more about Bhagavan's Leela and the upakaram of the holy men associated with Chidambaram Nataraja. And Nataraja or Bhagavan himself, Parameshwara, is also known by the name Sabhapati. So it is fitting that we dedicate this session to him today. So when it comes to Sanatana Dharma, every time when we speak about a Kshetra Puranam, Itihasam, or narration, it usually begins with a few ground rules. The first is the root of the narration, which in this case, or in every case of when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, is always Veda Moola Pramanam. That is, everything emerges from the Vedas itself. The second is the premise of Nahininda Nyayam, which is invoked to mention that whenever one specific form of Bhagavan is worshipped, no other form of Bhagavan gets insulted or denigrated in any manner. So when today we have the good fortune of understanding a little bit about Parameshwara and Nataraja, this does not make Mahavishnu or Bhagavati or any other deity insulted or put them down in any manner whatsoever. And when we look at the third aspect of this presentation, the third is around the Puranas and the Upapuranas, which are there in Sanatana Dharma. Each of these have been narrated by Veda Vyasa himself. Veda Vyasa is said to be Bhagavan, and we know this because of a shloka which says, Achatura Vadano Brahma, Dvibahuraparo Harihi, Afala Lochana Shambhuhu, Bhagavan Badarayanaha. That is, Veda Vyasa himself is Brahma, Vishnu, as well as Shiva. And we also know this in a way because those of us who have said or say the Vishnu Sahasranamam very frequently, we know that there is a shlokam which says, Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave. It is through the Puranas which are composed by him that we know today the Sthala Purana of Chidambaram, of various other kshetras in the country such as Avantika Ujjain, Tirupati, Kanchipuram, Rameshwaram, Kedar, Badri, Pushkar, and so many others. Mahapurushas like Vedavyasa and others have guided us by using the light from our illustrious texts, that is the Shruti, Smriti, and the Puranas. All of them derive their life and meaning from the Vedas itself. And these Vedas are said to have originated from Bhagavan, whom we know as Vedamurti. And through his Anugraham, we know the Vedas and the Vedangas today. In the Natesha Sahasranamam, Parameshwara is known by the Pramanam which says, Veda Vedyo Vedarupo Veda Vedanta Vittamaha Vedhartavik Veda Yonihi Vedango Veda Samstutaha. And in the same way, those of us who say the Vishnu Sahasranamam would also remember that Vishnu is referred to as Vedo Veda Vidavyango Vedango Veda Vikkavihi. The fourth aspect about of my presentation is centered around the Panchamahabhutas, or the five elements. And this is a theme which is explained and expressed in quite some detail in Sanatana Dharma. One of the earliest verses describing it comes from the Brahmanandavalli of the Taittiriyopanishad. The shloka explains the sequence in which all of the Panchamahabhutas originate. And it says, Akashat Vayuhu, Vayor Agnihi, Agnir Apaha, Adbhaya Prithvi. That is, from Akasha comes Vayu, from Vayu comes Agni, from Agni comes water, and from water comes the earth. This very context and this very concept is also retold by Adi Shankara in his Panchikarana, and he also explains how the subtle manifests to become the gross, or consciousness, that is Chittam, is given Swarupam. And for each of these Panchamahabhutas, there is a physical place in our world where they are said to manifest, which you can see in this image over here, which I will also explain in my forthcoming slides. Having said this introduction, I now seek the blessings and permission of everyone in this Sabha to begin my presentation. So in all of our Puranas, every single story is recollected as a narration in any Punya Kshetram. The Mahabharata, for example, is narrated by Shuka Maharishi in Naimisharanya or modern day Neemsar in Uttar Pradesh. The Vishnu Sahasranamam, for example, is narrated for the first time in Kurukshetra, where Bhishma is narrating it to Yudhishthira and the other attendees there. Many are conversations between Parameshwara and Parashakti in Kailasha, and so on and so forth. So our story for the afternoon begins in the ocean of milk, that is Kshirasagaram, where Mahavishnu is resting on top of Adisesha. For a brief moment, Mahavishnu smiles, and as he smiles, the weight of his entire being becomes very difficult for Adisesha to bear at that point of time. Adisesha immediately appears before Mahavishnu and tells him, Prabhu, I have been holding your weight for so many crores and crores of years together, but suddenly I found it very difficult to support you. Please forgive me for my shortcomings and please tell me whether I made any mistake. And then Mahavishnu smiles at him and tells him that it was not your mistake at all, Adisesha. I was recollecting a very interesting incident which took place in Darukavana. And Adisesha becomes very curious and asks him what exactly happened in Darukavana, which is where the narration of this story begins. So in Darukavana, Mahavishnu relates this to Adisesha when he says that in Darukavana, a very intense yajna was being performed by many rishis together. At this stage, Parameshwara and Mahavishnu decide to enact a leela to the rishis who are residing there in Darukavana. Some say that Darukavana is in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. Some say it is in Gujarat. Some say it is in Tamil Nadu. Some say it is in the western part of the country. We don't know that with certainty, but the entire history that we are speaking about refers to Darukavana specifically. So when this intense yajna is taking place, Parameshwara and Mahavishnu decide to enact a leela. Parameshwara takes the form of Bhikshatana or a mendicant, and Mahavishnu takes the form of Mohini. Both of them enter into Darukavana, and the rishis and the rishi patnis see this young man and this young woman enter. And as a result of them coming in, the yajna which they are performing comes to a halt, and it becomes khandita, or it stops. The rishis suddenly realize that they will not get the yajna phala because of this, and immediately they start to curse Bhikshatana and Mohini without knowing that this is Parameshwara and Mahavishnu. And when they continue cursing them, they realize that their curses do not have any effect. So the rishis return to the yajna kunda, and from there they invoke a tiger. And this tiger is caught by Bhikshatana, who catches hold of it, flays it with his hand, and he wears it around him. They then invoke many snakes, which Bhikshatana picks up and he wears as bracelets, as anklets, and around his person, and he puts one around his neck. The rishis then invoke a splitting, deafening silence, which splits the eardrums and makes people lose their orientation. So Shiva immediately materializes a damaru, and he strikes the damaru, dispelling the silence away. The rishis then invoke an elephant from the Yajna Kunda, which Shiva again catches hold of, tears and wears it around him. The rishis also invoke a Kalagni, or a fire which has the power to end the world, which Shiva captures and keeps in one hand of his. Running out of things to invoke, the rishis collectively invoke a demon, an asura, by the name Apasmara. In Tamil, Apasmara is known by the name Muyalakan. Apasmara is said to symbolize spiritual ignorance, nonsensical speech, and forgetfulness. Now, when Apasmara is going to attack Parameshwara, Parameshwara realizes that if he were to kill Apasmara, the acquisition of spiritual knowledge will become very easy. It is almost as though if someone were to clap their fingers and then they will attain mukti, or if you clap your fingers, you will end up building, say, a 40-story building. And at the same time, if Apasmara is kept alive, people will not be able to identify and find spiritual knowledge and also find the means of attaining Bhagavan. So Parameshwara in the form of Bhikshatana steps on Apasmara's back. The back is broken and Apasmara is kept alive. So which means that human beings will still have to apply and exert themselves in order to attain spiritual knowledge. And after stepping on Apasmara, Bhikshatana reveals his true form to all the rishis and the rishi patnis who are there in Darukavana. The rishis realized that this was Parameshwara himself who enacted this leela, and they immediately fall at his feet seeking forgiveness. And Parameshwara, being the Ashutoshi that he is, forgives them as well. And this is where Mahavishnu's narration to Adisesha comes to an end, and Mahavishnu tells him, "You see, Adisesha, this is what I was recollecting." Adisesha is very moved. And then he tells Mahavishnu that, Prabhu, you have had the good fortune of seeing this darshan. I also would like to see it. So I also would want to go to Bhuloka and have this darshan of Bhagavan in this form. So you please give me your permission. So Mahavishnu gives him permission, and Adisesha goes to Bhuloka. And it is a very interesting manner in which Adisesha comes to Bhuloka as well. Uh, some of us may know of the concept of the Saptarishis, Atri, Bhrigu, Kutsa, Vasishta, Gautama, Kashyapa, Angirasa. Atri Maharishi is one of the seven, and Atri Maharishi's Dharmapatni, Anusuya Devi, is offering flowers onto a Shivalinga. And as she offers a flower to the Shivalinga, there is a small snake which falls outside the Shivalinga, outside of the flower, and falls on top of the Shivalinga. Now, because this Anjali, the offering from her hand, falls from her hand onto the Shivalinga, the Anjali becomes Patanam. And so Adisesha takes the name Patanjali. So Adisesha has come as Patanjali to Bhuloka. And as Adisesha travels the length and breadth of the countryside, he also meets with a famous Maharishi, Madhyadina's son. And Madhyadina's son's name is Madhyandina. So Madhyandina and Patanjali, they travel around the length and breadth of the country. And eventually, they find a Swayambhu Linga, or a Shivlinga, or a Linga of Shiva, which is naturally forming and is not being made by anyone, hence the name Swayambhu Linga. They find the Swayambhu Linga near a place called Tillaivana, which is near Pichavaram mangroves, almost 2.5 hours away from Pondicherry. And the name of the Swayambhu Linga is called as Adi Moola Natha. And they pray to Adi Moola Natha, that is Patanjali and Madhyandina. Pleased by their worship, Parameshwara gives Madhyandina as well as Patanjali darshan. So Bhagavan turns to Madhyandina and asks him, and this is a very interesting and beautiful conversation which emerges between Bhagavan and his bhakta. So Parameshwara first turns to Madhyandina and asks him, what is it that you want? Madhyandina is so overcome by the darshan of Bhagavan that he says, Prabhu, I have had your darshan. I do not want anything. And Parameshwara is a little taken aback and he says, okay, I will give you mukti. Mukti, that is moksha, that is release from rebirth. And then Madhyandina says, no, Parameshwara, I do not want mukti. This is a very interesting stage where a bhakta has the darshan of Bhagavan, and Bhagavan, who is said to give, who's the only one who can give mukti, is told by his devotee, I do not want mukti. And this is captured in Tamil because this is taking place in Tamil Nadu and there is a rich body of literature. The great poet Sekhirar mentions this incident where he says, Muktiyum vendam yel vinay. That is, I do not want mukti. So Parameshwara continues a conversation with Madhyandina and he asks him, okay, if you do not want mukti, what is it that you want? And then Madhyandina composes himself and he says, Prabhu, I am yet to do puja for you properly. And I am yet to pluck flowers after they bloom and before the bees come and collect nectar from them. So Madhyandina is framing his thoughts, and at the same time, it's one for us to understand that if Madhyandina would perhaps want something specific, then he will tell Bhagavan that, you see, I must go and touch a tree, the flowers will fall, and I will pick those flowers. That is ideally what Madhyandina should ask for because he wants to do Shiva Puja. But Madhyandina does not ask this. And Madhyandina tells Bhagavan that I am yet to do puja properly. And I have to exert myself. I have to apply myself as I collect the flowers for you. So Madhyandina says, you give me the feet of a tiger. He says, you give me the feet of a tiger. You give me the claws of a tiger. And you give me the eyes of a tiger so that I can climb any tree that I wish to, pluck flowers for you and bring them for Shiva Puja. And Bhagavan asks him that if you want the puja phala or the punya of the puja, I will give that to you. Madhyandina says, no, I don't want that. I only want to do puja. I do not want the puja phala. I simply want to do puja. And Parameshwara smiles and he grants him his wish. So Madhyandina, we know him today by the name Vyaghra Pada. That is, Vyaghra is tiger, Pada is feet. So Bhagavan Parameshwara then turns to Patanjali and asks him, what is it that you want? And Patanjali is also very overcome with emotion. And Patanjali tells Bhagavan that this darshan that you have given me and Vyagrapada Muni is a very difficult one. It is ಎಷ್ಟು ದುರ್ಲಭ ತುಂಬಾ ದುರ್ಲಭ ದರ್ಶನ ಇದು. So for my sake, you must reside here forever in this Pichavaram mangroves in Tillaivanam. So Bhagavan understands his desire and he tells Patanjali Maharishi to collect 3,000 holy men and bring them to Tillaivanam. So Patanjali sets out. He goes across the length and breadth of the country, and there is a slight problem. Patanjali comes back with only 2,999 holy men. He is one holy man short. So he goes to Bhagavan and he tells him that, Prabhu, you asked for 3,000 men. I have been able to bring back only 2,999. And then Parameshwara tells him, that is okay. I will become the 3,000th holy man in this congregation, and I will reside here as per your wish and will. So this entire Leela of Bhagavan revealing himself to Vyagrapada Muni and then Patanjali Maharishi takes place in Taimasam. Taimasam, we know that as the month which comes between mid-January to mid-February. Pushya Nakshatram on a Thursday on Pradosham. So when these four things come together is when this Leela took place ages and ages ago in the past. And finally, this Kshetram where Bhagavan chooses to reside, the Kshetram finally gets a name. It is known as Kshetra Tillai because of the Tillai trees which are there in the Tillai Vanam which is there. Given the Upakaram of Vyagrapada Muni, it also gets the name Vyagrapuram. In Tamil, it is known as Perumpatra Puliyur or Puliyur. It is also known as Bhuloka Kailasham. It is also referred to as Akasha Pundarika Kshetram, and it is also known as Pundarikapuram. And we know this Kshetram today by the name Chidambaram. So we all know now that Bhagavan has come in Chidambaram, and Bhagavan has taken residence. So the next question is, what does Bhagavan look like? Or what are the lakshanas of the Vigraham which is there in Chidambaram? Some of you who are here on this call, or many of you who are here on the call, will be aware of a shlokam known by the name Dhyana Shlokam. The Dhyana Shlokam is usually said in prayers to visualize and think of what does this form of Bhagavan look like. A very famous Dhyana Shlokam comes from the Vishnu Sahasranamam, where we pray Shantakaram Bhujaga Shayanam Padmanabham Suresham, which is Shantarupam, reclining on a bed of serpents, Padmanabham and Suresham. In the same way, Shiva also has a Dhyana Shlokam, which is Shantam Padmasanastham Shashidara Mukutam Panchavaktram Trinetram. Nataraja also has a Dhyana Shloka. It would be a very long one if I were to begin describing that. So I will try to summarize it as I describe this slide over here, which I hope everyone can see. So if we begin from Bhagavan's Tirupadam or his holy feet and we go all the way to the top, one can see that Bhagavan has one foot on Muyalakan or Apasmara. There is a Panchakacha and a Yoga Vastra, which Bhagavan is wearing. There is a 6-strand Yajnopavitam, which runs across Bhagavan's body from his left to his right. In Bhagavan's hands, there is the Kalagni, the same one which Bhagavan had captured in Darukavana. There is the Damaru, the same one which Bhagavan materialized to save everybody from the deafening silence. There is one downward pointing hand of Bhagavan, and then Bhagavan's left foot is lifted in a certain manner. The manner in which Bhagavan's left foot is raised is called as the Kunchita Padam. The Kunchita Padam is a very specific asana in Bharatnatyam. But the interesting thing here is on Bhagavan's hand. One can find 3-4 fingers in this manner, and then Bhagavan's finger over here, that is the index finger, is pointing towards his foot. It is almost as though Bhagavan is telling us that you take refuge over here below my feet, and bhukti, mukti, and anything and everything that you require in this world, I will give it to you. The other hand of Bhagavan over here is also almost like what you would call as a Abhaya Mudra, or the one that says, do not fear. But there is a very beautiful explanation given in Tamil when it comes to this hand. There is a saint poet in Tamil Nadu whose songs are more than 1,000 years old and are sung even today. His name is Appar Swamigal. So Appar Swamigal would say when he sees this hand, in Tamil, he would say, என்று வந்தாய் எனக்கேக்கும் எம்பெருமான் தன் திருக்குறி பேனார். That is, this hand of Bhagavan is almost as though it is saying hi to someone and asking them that, are you doing well? Is everything okay with you? Is everyone okay at home? So we usually have greetings between friends and colleagues, and we will usually put our hand up like this. So this hand of Bhagavan is very similar in this manner, is what Appar Swamigal contends. There is the Kundalini Sarpa also, which runs along the hand of Bhagavan in this manner. Bhagavan has two different types of earrings which he wears. In the right ear, Bhagavan wears a Surya Kundala, and in his left ear, Bhagavan wears a Makara Kundala. This signifies that Bhagavan is Ardhanari Swarupam himself. And Bhagavan has Tripundra Vibhuti, and above his Tripundra Vibhuti, one will also see the crescent moon. That is why another name of Bhagavan is Chandramauli or Chandrasekhara. There is also Ganges, the Ganga Nadi. That is why he also has a name Gangadhara. The interesting thing about Bhagavan's hair over here in Chidambaram is that there are three features which usually do not come together, but they do over here. In Chidambaram, Bhagavan has a Shikha. In Chidambaram, Bhagavan has a Jatha. Some of us know the very famous stotram which is said today, Jatatavi Galad Jwala Prapahita Itasthale, from Ravana's stotra, which praises Shiva. And then Bhagavan also has open flowing hair. So a Shikha, a Jatha, and open flowing hair. And there is a very beautiful explanation given by saints when it comes to this. Because of the Panchakacham which Bhagavan wears, which one can see it is above his knee, Bhagavan symbolizes the Brahmacharya, or of the Chaturashramas, Bhagavan symbolizes the Brahmacharya. Because Bhagavan has a Shikha and he also has a Yajnapavita around him, Bhagavan is also said to be a Samsari, or a married man as well. He is a Grahastha. Because Bhagavan has a Jatha, Bhagavan is also said to signify the Vanaprastha. And because Bhagavan also has open flowing hair, he is also said to symbolize the Sannyasa ashrama as well. So all the four ashramas, all the four stages of life, Bhagavan is said to represent this. And with all of this together, these are the Lakshanas of Bhagavan in Chidambaram. And Bhagavan takes the name Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti. That is, this is the Rupam of Bhagavan, which performs the Ananda Tandavam, or the dance of bliss, or the dance of joy. Bhagavan in Chidambaram is said to face the southern direction. South is said to be the direction of death. And at the same time, south is also said to be the direction that the Guru faces. Over here, Bhagavan faces the southern direction because he is a Guru. And this is said in the Natesha Sahasranamam, where he is known as Dakshinamurti Rupa Bhrite. And at the same time, he is also said to keep death away. Another very famous idol of, rather a famous Rupam of Bhagavan which faces south is also in Sri Rangam, where Ranganatha Swami faces south to give, say, a message of care and a message of reassurance to Vibhishana that he will always be facing Sri Lanka as he goes ahead. So Bhagavan is here as Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti. And whenever there is a dancer, there also has to be a sabha where the dancer will dance. So the sabha where Bhagavan manifests and gives this Ananda Tandavam to his devotees is called as the Chitsabha. The Chitsabha is a small enclosure in the larger Chidambaram temple. And in this Chitsabha, Bhagavan manifests as Rupam, that is in form. Bhagavan also manifests as Rupa Rupam in the form of the Chandramaulishwara Swami, that is a Sphatikalinga, which is near Bhagavan's foot. Bhagavan's Shiva Bhinna, or Bhagavan's consort, Devi Parashakti, is known by the name Shivakama Sundari, which is here to her left. To the left of Ambal is also a form of Bhagavan which is known by the name Swarnakarshana Bhairava. And to this side of Bhagavan, where I am moving my mouse over here, is where there is a ruby Nataraja known by the name Ratna Sabhapati. So if we were to continue looking at the Chitsabha, there are various interesting features which are here, which symbolize various aspects which come from our Vedas and Sanatana Dharma. There are 5 steps that one needs to take in order to go up the Chitsabha, which is called as the Panchakshara Padi. Om Namah Shivaya, which is the Panchakshara. There are, if we look at this picture below, there are 9 kalashas on top of the Chitsabha. These symbolize the 9 points of entry and egress into the human body. This entire Vimanam is known by the name of the Rudrakoti Vimanam. There are 28 pillars which support the Chitsabha. These 28 pillars are said to be the 28 agamas of our Sanatana Dharma. Kamikam, Rauravam, and many others form our agamas, and the 28 pillars symbolize them. There are 64 roof beams in the Chitsabha, which symbolize the 64 art forms which are in Sanatana Dharma. Nrityam, Geetam, Lasyam, Sangeetam, so on and so forth. The Chitsabha, which is where Bhagavan performs his Tandavam, is covered by 21,600 gold tiles or gold sheets. The number 21,600 is very poignant because this symbolizes the number of inhalations and exhalations an average human being takes every day. There are 72,000 nails which hold the Chitsabha together, which are said to symbolize the 72,000 nerve endings of the human body. And of the many rupas of Parabrahman and the many rupas of Parameshwara, Mahavishnu, and so on and so forth, Shiva is known to manifest in 3 rupams here in Chidambaram. One is Rupam, that is with form. One is Rupa Rupam, that is with and without form. And one is Arupam, that is without form. Rupam of Bhagavan is Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti. The Rupa Rupam form of Bhagavan, that is with and without form, is the Spatikalingam, that is Chandramaulishvara. And the Arupam form of Bhagavan is the Chidambara Rahasyam, a very interesting aspect in Chidambaram, which I will now explain. So, to the right side of Bhagavan, the area next to him, the right side of Bhagavan, which is over here, is a black curtain, behind which there are said to be hangings of bilva leaves made of gold. When the afternoon puja or the Uchikala puja of Bhagavan concludes, the Dikshadar or the presiding priest in Chidambaram for that particular day will open and close the curtain thrice, revealing this image to all devotees who are witnessing it. There are many explanations to this Rahasyam, and because it is something which is still not entirely known to humankind, is a reason why it is known as a Rahasyam itself. The action of opening and closing the curtain is said to be the action of revealing the presence of Bhagavan behind the veil of ignorance. This is captured very beautifully in the Natesha Sahasranamam, where Bhagavan is known by the name Panchakritya Parayanaha. There are said to be 5 functions of Bhagavan, that is Srishti, creation, Sthiti, protection, Pralayam, that is dissolution, Tirobhavam, that is said to be the concealment of grace, and Anugraham, which is said to be revealing grace. The action of revealing the presence of Bhagavan behind that veil of ignorance is said to be the Anugraham that Bhagavan gives his devotees. Another explanation is that the Akasha Lingam, which is formless but can be felt, is said to manifest behind that curtain. Many holy men, when they have seen the curtain move, they have seen Bhagavan and Ambal together. Another explanation, as per various Shastras in the Hindu Dharma, is that the space behind the Maya Yavanika or the curtain is the combination of many chakras and yantras. Some say it is the Shri Chakra, some say it is the Sammelana Chakra, some say it is the Chidambara Sammelana Chakra, and which is superimposed on top of the Panchakshara Yantra. Another explanation to this Rahasyam is that within the human heart is a small and tiny space known as the Daharakasham. It is within that Daharakasham that Bhagavan in the form of the Atma is said to reside as the Akasha Tattva. The Hridayam of the Virat Purusha in the form of the Akasha Lingam is also said to be behind the curtain. Of course, what I have shared are just a few explanations to the Rahasyam, and every time the curtain is pulled aside, one of us, many of us, all of us may interpret it the way we see it. And the Chidambara Rahasyam is also where a Rahasya Puja for Bhagavan is performed every evening. And this entire Mahima, this entire narration, as I had mentioned, was made by Mahavishnu to Adisesha. The same narration was also made by Parameshwara to Nandikeshwara. Nandikeshwara is said to have said this to Vishwakarma, the celestial architect, and it is Vishwakarma who is said to have built the Chidambaram city itself. And of course, in later due course of time, we have seen various dynasties in Tamil Nadu, such as the Pallavas, the Cholas, the Pandyas, and various others who have done Upakara, and they have also maintained and grown the temple in size. So just as Bhagavan has a separate, has a place for himself in Chidambaram, Devi Parashakti also has a place for herself in the Chitsabha and also in a separate enclosure for herself. And Devi Parashakti in this temple takes the form of Shivakama Sundari Ambal. The literal translation of Shivakama Sundari is the beautiful manifestation of auspiciousness. And as I had shared, she has two places for herself within the temple. One is within alongside Bhagavan in the Chitsabha, and the other is where she has a separate enclosure for herself within the temple. Where she is next to Bhagavan, she is seen with two hands, and where she has a separate enclosure for herself, she is said to have four hands. And in this Rupam of Ambal, her left hand, one of her left hands rests on her hip. In one, she holds a parrot. In another one, she has an Aksharamala. And in another one, she is said to be holding a blue lotus. Even here, there is a saying that the significance of Akasha Kshetram is captured in Ambal's Vigraham. The blue lotus that Ambal holds is said to symbolize the prevalence of the spirit or Akasham. The parrot is said to squawk, and the squawk of the parrot is said to coincide with the rhythmic heartbeat of the cosmos. And the Aksharamala in Ambal's right hand is said to keep a count of the number of heartbeats. And this form of Ambal, where she is Chaturbhujam, is in a separate enclosure for herself within the larger Chidambaram temple itself. Facing Ambal in that separate enclosure is someone by the name Chitragupta. Some of us may have heard of Chitragupta. He is the attendant of Yamadharma Raja. Chitragupta over here in this temple does not just keep track of the karmas that one individual does in the course of their lifetime, but he also writes the names of those coming to see Ambal here, ensuring that they eventually reach the lotus feet of Bhagavan and Ambal and they attain moksha or liberation. There is also a Shri Chakram engraved on the wall within the same prakaram, ensuring that Ambal's energies reach all of the devotees who come to see her. In the same Chidambaram enclosure, there is also a separate shrine for Brahma as well as Vishnu. Brahma takes the form of Chandikeshwara and is known by the name Brahma Chandikeshwara, meditating and praying right next to Bhagavan, right outside of the Chitsabha, and facing the same southern direction as Swami and Ambal. And no more than a few meters away from the Chitsabha is Mahavishnu reclining on Adisesha alongside Bhudevi and Sri Devi as the Moola Murti, as one can see in this picture over here. Mahavishnu also resides here in Tillai and is known by the name Govindaraja Perumal, and his consort Mahalakshmi has a separate shrine for herself along with being aside Bhagavan over here, and Mahalakshmi is known by the name Pundarikavalli Tayar. Just like the Kshetram is known by the name Pundarikapuram, Mahalakshmi also has the name Pundarikavalli Tayar. Mahavishnu is said to have appeared due to the prayers of the Tillai Dikshidars as well as due to the penance of Kanva Maharishi. The name of this place in Tamil is known as Tiruchitrakudam. This specific temple of Mahavishnu is known by the name Tiruchitrakudam, and this is where Govindaraja Perumal is said to reside. And Govindaraja Perumal is also one of the 108 Divya Desams which have been venerated by Ramanujacharya. There are various other shrines in this temple. In the interest of time, I will capture perhaps a few. The original Shivalinga, which Patanjali and Vyagrapada worshipped, is known by the name Adi Mula Natha, and it is venerated in the Pragaram adjoining the innermost one. And Adi Mula Natha is also accompanied by Devi, who goes by the name Uma Parvati Amba. There is a separate shrine for Kartikeya, which is also present right next to Ambal's Sannadhi. And Kartikeya here is known by the name Pandyanayaka. Kartikeya Subramanya is said to be Shiva's Aurasaputra. Bhairava also has a separate shrine for himself, as does Vinayaka and Shivaganga Durga. And Shivaganga Durga is something that I will explain in some time. And as will I explain the Shivaganga concept. So Vinayaka is known by the name Mukkuruni Vinayaka. Very noteworthy in this temple is the temple bell, which is known by the name Shikhandi Puranam, whose sound is said to be the closest to the Panchakshara itself. Hearing the sound of this bell is said to cleanse the mind and the body, and rings to herald not just the change of the hour, but is also rung during special pujas. Outside of the temple premises are two equally famous and unique shrines. One is that of Tillai Kalikambal, known by the name Brahmachamundeshwari. Tillai Kalikambal is Chaturmukham, Chaturbhujam, and is seated on an asana next to the Shivapriya Tirtham inside of the Chidambaram city town itself. And no visit to Chidambaram is complete without visiting her, as well as Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti in the main temple. There is also Ananteshwara within Chidambaram, which is also a shrine where Bhagavan was worshipped by Patanjali, Vyagrapada, and also Devendra. So I have spent some time speaking about Bhagavan, the Itihasam, a few of the famous shrines which are there within the temple itself. I would now like to take a few minutes to speak about the Chidambaram Nataraja temple enclosure itself. The puja vidhi here in this temple goes by the name Veda Agama, and this is known by the full name, that is Patanjali Krita Vedagama. That is Patanjali Maharishi curated the Vedas in such a manner that he set aside specific verses within the Vedas through which Bhagavan is said to be worshipped. There is a temple pond inside of the temple which is known by the name Shivaganga Tirtham. There are 9 other tirthas in and outside of this temple premises. And Chidambaram also goes by the name Dashatirtha Yatra Sthalam. There are 5 sabhas within this temple itself. The main one is Chitsabha, where Bhagavan is said to be. There is a Kanaka Sabha, where devotees can climb up and see Bhagavan as close as possible. There is a Nritya Sabha, from where Bhagavan can be seen dancing. There is a Deva Sabha, where all of the temple bronzes are kept and assembled. And last but not the least, the Raja Sabha, or the Airakal Mandapam, as they say in Tamil. The priests in this temple are the descendants of the 3,000 sages, or the Tillais Trisahasra Munishwaras, who Patanjali Maharishi had brought to this kshetra. And those who are born in that lineage are the ones who have the right, as well as the privilege, to perform pujas and abhishekas to Bhagavan and the various sannadhis over here. There is daily archana, which is offered to Nataraja. 6 times a day, Abhishekam is performed to Chandramaulishwara, that is the Spatikalinga. And once a day, Abhishekam is performed to the Ruby Nataraja, or the Ratna Sabhapati. It is also once a day that the Chidambara Rahasyam is opened, which is during the afternoon after the Uchikala Puja, and that is shown to devotees. A very beautiful aspect about Chidambaram are the 6-time pujas which take place every day. In the largest temples in Tamil Nadu and outside of Tamil Nadu in South India as well, one will find that there are pujas which take place for Bhagavan 6 times a day. The most special puja for Chidambaram Nataraja is said to be the Ardhajama Puja. That is the last puja of the day, which takes place close to the night. During this Ardhajama Puja, according to the Puranas, that is the Skanda Purana and the Suta Samhita, all the gods of Sanatana Dharma and all the energies of all the Shivalingas across the world come to attend the Ardhajama Puja, and they merge with Bhagavan in the night and they stay there. And once when it is daybreak and it is morning, all the gods and all the energies of all the Shivalingas return to their respective places. Bhagavan is also known in a very prominent manner because it is Chidambaram Nataraja, through whom today we know Sangeetam, Nrityam, and Vyakaranam. Sangeetam, because it is Nataraja who is said to have given the Sangeeta Shastras to Tumburu Maharshi and Narada Maharshi, and they have propagated it further. Vyakaranam, and it is interesting because when Bhagavan had materialized the Damaru, he is said to have struck the Damaru 14 times in order to drive away the deafening silence in Darukavana. This is captured in a shloka by Panini, the great grammarian and historian, who writes his introducing shlokas itself, where he mentions Nrittavasane Nataraja Rajo Ninada Dhakkam Navapanchavaram. That is, Nataraja, who is dancing, strikes the Damaru 14 times and he gives birth to the aksharas of the Samskrita language itself. And so Vyakarana comes from Chidambaram Nataraja. And in the same way, Nrityam, that is Bharatnatyam that we know today, also comes from Chidambaram Nataraja, as it is Bharata Muni who is said to have seen the Ananda Tandavam of Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti, and he then composed the Natya Shastras, and through his Anugraham, we have Bharatnatyam and various other dance forms today. Patanjali and Vyagrapada are said to have established various other temples across the length and breadth of Tamil Nadu. While some believe that the Jiva Samadhi of Patanjali is in a place called Tirupattur near Trichy, near Samayapuram, and Vyagrapadas is also said to be there. There is also a belief that Patanjali and Vyagrapada are still there in Chidambaram worshipping Bhagavan every day. And also Banasura, Krishna Paramatma's grandson's father-in-law, so Aniruddha's father-in-law Banasura, is also said to be in Chidambaram worshipping Bhagavan even today. This form of Bhagavan, that is Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti in Chidambaram, is also hinted at in the Kaivalyopanishad in the Sannyasa Suktam. So for those of you who may not have heard of this before, the Sannyasa Suktam is a prayer which is said whenever there is a Sannyasi Maharaj who visits a particular place and they are given Maryada and Purna Kumbha. At that time, there is a shlokam which says, Na karmanaha na prajaya na dhanena tyage neike amritatva manasuhu. That is, you have renounced karma, you have renounced praja, you have renounced wealth, and through the means of renunciation, you have attained Bhagavan. There is a very specific shloka in that suktam which says, Dahram vipapam parameshma bhutam yat pundarikam puramadya sargastam. One translation of that shloka posits that by meditating on Bhagavan who is present inside of the Dharakasham inside of your heart, you attain this exalted state. An alternate explanation is given by the Adhishthanam and the Mathadipati of Nerur, who is known by the name Nerur Periyava. He also interprets it differently when he says, Dahram vipapam parameshma bhutam yat pundarika puram madhya sargastam. That is, you also meditate and do dhyanam on that Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti who resides in the middle of Pundarika Puram, that is Chidambaram itself. Chidambaram is also one of the 5 places where some say Adi Shankara is said to have given us Patikalinga. Some say that it was the Trisahasra Munis who brought these Patikalinga to Chidambaram themselves. Some believe that it is Adi Shankara who is said to have given one in Chidambaram. There are 4 other places where Adi Shankara is said to have given this. Rameshwaram, Madurai, Kanchipuram, and Sringeri are the others. Just like Mahavishnu and Krishna are very closely associated with the Shravana Nakshatram, Nataraja is very closely associated with the Arudra Nakshatram. The Arudra Nakshatram in modern day language in English is known by the name Betelgeuse. And the Betelgeuse is a very interesting Nakshatram, partly because of its scientific properties and also because this picture of Betelgeuse or Arudra Nakshatram right next to Bhagavan, which you can see in this slide, is exactly like Nataraja himself. If one were to focus closely, one will find the uplifted foot of Bhagavan over here. One will find the resting foot of Bhagavan over here. One will find the Damaru in Bhagavan's hand over here. One finds the crown of Bhagavan over here. One can spot the Kundalini Sarpam and the Kalagni in another hand in that exact specific manner. This is a real image which is taken by NASA, and one can find this in on the internet as well. The temple is said to have so much of history that it'll be very difficult for me to unravel it in 60 minutes, but I will perhaps take maybe one or two more slides to share a little bit more about this temple. Tamil Nadu has a very specific tradition where bard saints or singing saints and poets have traveled from one temple to another, singing the praises of God. The Shaivite quartet of saints who sang and helped the re-establishment of the Vedic faith in Tamil Nadu had sung multiple prayers of not just Chidambaram, but many other temples before they merged with God. They had sung these songs more than 1,000 years back, and those songs, when they were written down, they were later lost. The lost and missing texts of all of these shrines were later found in a hidden antechamber inside Chidambaram and were discovered by Rajaraja Chola. I think we all know of Rajaraja Chola, courtesy the movie Ponniyin Selvan. It was Rajaraja Chola who helped save these various songs, which are sung across Tamil Nadu even today after thousands of years. And these set of songs are known by the name Tevaram or Devaharam, that is the garland of Shiva. Every prayer of any decade within the Tevaram begins and ends with the salutation Tiruchitrambalam. And Tiruchitrambalam in Tamil means the holy golden hall, alluding to the Chitsabha where Bhagavan performs his Ananda Tandavam. Chidambaram has also had various visitors such as Jaimini Maharishi, Bharata Muni, Adi Shankara, Appaya Dikshadhar, Kumara Guruparar, and so on and so forth. For Nataraja, there are 6 special pujas in a year with Ani Tirumanjanam, that is Mithunamasam, which one can say is mid-June to mid-July. Mid-June to mid-July, Uttara Falguni Nakshatram, that is Ani Tirumanjanam, is said to be a very famous puja for Bhagavan. As is Margari Arudra, that is Dhanurmasam, mid-December to mid-January, Arudra Nakshatram as well. A very famous puja for Bhagavan is also going to take place very soon on the date Panguni Uttaram, that is Falguna Masam, Uttara Falguni Nakshatram. And Chidambaram as a temple, it's important that we see this not just as one standalone temple, but part of a larger series of various temples in our country and also as a part of Sanatana Dharma. Chidambaram is part of the 4 Moksha Sthalas. If you may recall the Dhyana Shlokam, which I had said at the start of the presentation, Darshanat Abhrasadasi Jananat Kamalaliye, that is to have darshan of Nataraja in Abhrasadas, that is in Chidambaram, to be born in Kamalayam, that is Tiruvarur, Kashyantu Maranan Muktihi, that is to drop one's mortal body in Kashi, or to think of Tiruvannamalai or Arunachala. Doing any of these 4 is said to assure one individual of mukti. Chidambaram is also part of the Panchabhuta Sthalas. Chidambaram is the Akasha Kshetram. The Prithvi Kshetram is Kanchipuram. The Jala Kshetram is Tiruvanaikovil in Tiruchirappalli. The Agni Kshetram is said to be Tiruvannamalai. And the Vayu Kshetram is said to be Srikalahasti. Chidambaram is also part of the Sapta Sabha. There are 7 sabhas in total, which we know of at this point. One is the Adri Sabha, which is the Himalayas. Then one is the Kanaka Sabha, which is said to be Chidambaram. One is the Rajata Sabha, which is the Silver Sabha, which is in Madurai. There is the Tamra Sabha or the Copper Sabha, which is said to be in Tirunelveli. The Ratna Sabha is said to be in Tiruvalangadu. The Chitra Sabha is said to be in Tirukutralam. And the Adi Chitsabha is said to be in Tiruvengadu. Chidambaram is also one of the 9 temples which have been established by Vyagrapada, and it is also one of the Navavyagra Sthalas. And as I had mentioned earlier in Tamil, this kshetram is also known by the name Puliyur, Perumpatra Puliyur. And the poet Saint Appar Swamigal describes this very beautifully when he says, Perumpatra Puliyurane, Pesada Nalallam Pirava Nale. That is, O great one who resides in Perumpatra Puliyur or Chidambaram, the day spent not recollecting you or thinking about you is a wasted day. Chidambaram is also part of the 276 Padal Petra Sthalas, or where poet saints in Tamil Nadu are said to have gone and sang their songs. Chidambaram is said to be the foremost of the 276, which is why every decade in Tamil begins and ends with Tiruchitrambalam, as I said earlier. Chidambaram is also part of the Sapta Adhara Sthalas and also one of the Sapta Chakra Sthalas. I think those of us who are well acquainted with yoga will know that there are multiple chakras by the name Mooladharam, Swadhishthanam, Vishuddhi, Anahatam, Manipuram, and so on. Chidambaram is said to be the Vishuddhi chakra, or some say it is said to be one of the other chakras as well. Just as the Nataraja in Chidambaram is said to be very famous, there are many different other places where Nataraja is said to be equally famous. In a small town called Uttarakosamangai, which one encounters while going from Madurai to Rameshwaram, is a 6-foot tall, 1-ton heavy Vigraham of Nataraja, which is made of pure emerald. Some say that the Sthapati, who is said to have made this without using a chisel, and he made it solely through his mind. Some say this was found in the Bay of Bengal and brought and established here. There is also the Pralaya Vidanga Nataraja, which is in Tiruchuri. Some of us may know Tiruchuri as the birthplace of Ramana Maharishi. There is a very beautiful Nataraja in the same temple that he was born in. In Kerala, in the famous temple town of Etumanur, is a beautiful painting of Nataraja over here, which is said to be made solely using vegetable oils alone. And also a very famous Nataraja Vigraham of Bhagavan is in the town of Koneri Rajapuram. The Koneri Rajapuram Nataraja is said to be very lifelike, with sinews, with nerve endings, with arteries and veins being very visible. Some even say that when the Archaka takes the Deebaradhane plate to the Vigraham of Koneri Rajapuram Nataraja, one can see Bhagavan inhaling and exhaling as the flame is set to flicker over there. So just like there are multiple Natarajas, there are also various compositions on Nataraja and Chidambaram. There is the Nataraja Ashtakam, which is composed by Adi Shankara. There is a Natesha Navakam composed by Patanjali. There is the Natesha Panchashati. There is a Natesha Sahasranamam. There is also a Sahasranamam for Shivakama Sundari Ambal. A very interesting aspect is the temple pond in Chidambaram, known as the Shivaganga. The Shivaganga has a separate Sahasranamam for herself. Ganga has a Sahasranamam. Yamuna has a Sahasranamam. Some say even Narmada has a Sahasranamam for herself. But the only known enclosed temple pond in Sanatana Dharmam at this point of time, which has a Sahasranamam for itself, is said to be the Shivaganga Sahasranamam. And in the same way, Bhagavan's uplifted left foot, called as the Kunchita Padam, also has a separate Sahasranamam for itself. In the same way, there are various beautiful songs as well, such as Ananda Natana Prakasham, which is composed by Muthuswami Dikshidhar. There are various Tamil songs as well, which are there for Nataraja in the same manner. I've just captured a few of them, given the interest of time. I would genuinely and definitely encourage each one of you to see what other songs there are which are composed for Nataraja. So if I were to conclude my presentation, perhaps the best way that I would like to do that is to encapsulate and sum it all up using this picture of Bhagavan over here. So when the Samudra Mantana, that is the churning of the ocean, takes place, the Dashami Tithi is said to be when the Halala poison or the Kalakuta poison or the Visha is said to emerge. When this poison emerges, the Devatas who are performing the action of churning the ocean immediately run away because they don't know what to do. Bhagavan comes, drinks this poison, and leaves. And immediately after Bhagavan leaves, the Devatas attain victory because they find the Amrita Kalasha. And we know this day because that day is known by the name Vijaya Ekadashi. And the same Ekadashi, the elixir emerges. And after vanquishing the Asuras, the Devas realize that Parameshwara came and he left. He drank poison and he left. And he did not say anything to anybody, nor did he ask anything from anyone else. And the Devas think that, oh, Bhagavan has drunk up so much of Halala Visha, he must not be keeping well. So let us go to the Himalayas, let us go to Kailasham and see what Bhagavan is doing. So when the Devatas reach Kailasham, they find Bhagavan doing this Ananda Tandavam over there. And the Devatas are so wonderstruck and they are full of joy, just like Bhagavan. And then all the Devatas join Bhagavan in dancing over there. So one will see Ambal also dancing next to him. One will see Nandi on the Mridangam. One will see Mahavishnu on the Mridangam. One will see Saraswati playing the Veena. One will see Narada using the Tanpura. One will see Mahalakshmi keeping the Talam over here. And everybody else is in an absolute state of Anandam and bliss. So when the Devatas see this, they submit a prayer to Bhagavan and they tell him that this beautiful Ananda Tandava darshan that you have given us, we have been able to see it. But please give this anugraham to the rest of the world as well. And that is why after Trayodashi, when Bhagavan performs this Tandavam in Himalayas, he comes down to the world on Mahashivaratri and he performs this Ananda Tandavam for all his devotees in Bhuloka. And we know that after Vijaya Ekadashi, there is Dwadashi, there is Trayodashi, and after that there is Mahashivaratri, which is the day when Bhagavan reveals himself to the rest of the world. It is this Ananda Tandavam that Bhagavan performs every Trayodashi during the evening time. And it is this very dance which Bhagavan asks us to see in his temples, as well as within the human heart, always assuring us of his presence and also assuring us of mukti by pointing to us to take refuge below his lotus feet. With this, my presentation comes to an end. With Bhagavan's kripa and the blessings of all elders, I have done my best in trying to convey the Mahatmyam of Chidambaram Nataraja. I humbly seek forgiveness for any shortcomings during my talk. And I would like to conclude this by placing this humble offering at the lotus feet of Shivakama Sundari Sameta Ananda Nataraja Rajamurti. And I hope and pray Bhagavan grants us the fulfillment of all of our wishes. Yatsmat sarvam samutpannam characharamidam jagate idam namo nateshaya tasmai karunyamurtaye gopika jeevanasmaranam govinda govinda hara namah parvati pataye hara hara mahadeva Tirchitrambalam.
Thank you, sir. It was very interesting. Okay, we take questions. We already 4. Any questions? You can unmute and ask the questions. Srinath sir, go ahead.
Sir, namaskaram, and it was a very illustrative. Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Srinath, you may just have to be slightly louder. There's a slight bit of background noise, but otherwise you're good.
It is a very illustrative talk, and many people may not know about the complete historical and what you call Puranic background of the Chidambaram. Even to my level of understanding, I too also understood many things about the overall Chidambaram temple and the town. I have one small question is, see, whether it is Shaiva temple, Vaishnava temple, or any other form of temples in India, holistically, if you look at it, the concept of Rahasya is there. It is observed. It is there. Practice of this, whatever Rahasya concept which I have explained in terms of Chidambara Rahasya.
Yes.
Made our ancients to conceptualize this is my question. I have partly answered. I want to say answer and I want your observation. Generally, people have different taste. People will come by bhakti, bhava. People will come by the glory of the temple. People are attracted to temple by many reasons are there. Is it because some people who don't care all these things, even though those people also should be attracted to temple, they may be interested if I say there is a rahasyam there. They may also attend the temple or come the temple. I tried to answer myself, but I'm asking the question. Please give your answer. Don't get influenced by my answer.
Sure. No. Let me try my best, Inaji, and pleasure to see you here as well. So the concept of Rahasyam is something which is not specific to Chidambaram alone. There are various other shrines in the length and breadth of Bharatavarsha which we see. There are Rahasyams there. Tiruvarur is also said to be a place where there is said to be the Tiruvarur Rahasya. Here as well in Chidambaram is said to be the Rahasya. So various facets to this. One is, of course, the Rahasyam is also an invitation to a devotee to say, if you want to drink that nectarine knowledge of Bhagavan and understand him in his absolute essence, you come and try to understand the Rahasya, and through this you either begin your path towards bhakti towards Bhagavan or anything else. So the Rahasyam is many things. For some, it is an attractant. For some, it is a means of a secret. You had asked how the ancients conceptualize this. So to be frank, Srinathji, this kshetram has existed even before Vishwakarma has had to build it out. So you can simply say that Rahasyam is simply a manifestation of Bhagavan and his Leela. And, it is, like I said, it is simply an invitation. Vishwakarma, of course, is the great celestial architect. He occupies a Devasthanam in his own right. So as he would have conceptualized the Rahasyam, it is absolutely certain that the intent of having the Rahasyam as well is also to bless devotees abundantly, those who come to seek Bhagavan. And it is also to assure whoever comes and has a vision of Nataraja is assured of bhakti. So multiple explanations, multiple answers. I hope I have tried my best to explain that, Srinath ji.
Over to others.
Any more questions? Okay. Or else you can type in chat box. We can read it. Any clarifications, or if anybody wants to talk with sir, you can unmute yourself. Raghavendra, sir. Sir, one question in chat box. Okay. Raghavendra, sir, anything to ask? No. Sir, check the chat box, sir.
I think the chat box will be preferable, Supriya ji. I think some of them are having audio issues. So I think if there are any questions that I am seeing in the conversation window, I will do my best to take it and answer it as best as I can.
Okay, I think no more questions. I think they are happy with your explanation. No doubts on it.
Hopefully that is the
Am I
case.
audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Sir, I have a small question. Like there was a devotee of Nataraja who composed that Charana Shrunga Rahita Nataraja Stotram. So there is a blend of the gross and even the subtle form. Like Charana Shrunga is they wanted to prevent Nandi and Brungi, I feel, and even the grammatic forms. So why in this culture there is always the blend between the gross and the subtle. So why this transition is always kept? Is it to take all levels of people, or it's conveying something rahasya internally?
Got it. No, very lovely question. And I'll use two examples to explain this. The Charana Shringa Rahita Stotram is used in a ways to symbolize Shiva especially, because if we were to look at some of the Puranas, Shiva is known by the name, in Tamil, he is referred to as Adiyum Andamam Illam Arutperu Jodi. That is, he is the flaming pillar of fire which has neither origin nor destination. Some of us may know that Itihasam in some way or the other. So Patanjali, being the great devotee that he was, his intention was to create something a little similar on those lines. That is why, if you would have seen the stotrams a little clearly or closely, sir, you will find that it does not have any dirghaksharam. That is, it does not go e u. There is no such thing. That is one. Secondly, when it comes to the combination of the subtle and the gross, this is a theme which is very prevalent, especially at least in the Shaivam form of Advaitam. The reason being, the Advaitam school of thought posits that Bhagavan is, Nirakaram, Nirupam, etc. So sometimes for us, in order for us to understand what is Rupam, how do we meditate on Bhagavan and how do we reach Bhagavan's or Bhagavati's lotus feet, we have to have a form in front of us to identify that. This example was also given by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa when he says that when you hold water in your hand, it does not have any color. But if you mix that water with haldi or with kunkuma or something else, it takes color. So Saguna Nirguna Rupam is explained by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who's an Advaiti himself in that manner. The intent whenever it comes to Parameshwara especially is also to say that yes, there is the gross, which is the body that we have, but within the gross is the subtle. So the Dharakasham in the Atmasthanam also is also said to be that. So that is why whenever it comes to Shiva, but specifically to Chidambaram Nataraja, one finds that combination taking place very frequently. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Namaskaram.
So I think we have a hand raised, Prema Prakashji. Prema Aunty, I think that's you. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Girish, for this wonderful exposition on Chidambara Rahasyam. There were so many things that we didn't know about this temple. I have been there, but I didn't know so many things, and I think I would like to go there again now that I have this information behind me. I would just like to ask whether can we get a kind of a brief transcript of whatever you have spoken, because these names and these things, like we tend to forget after some time.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I think I can share that. And I would
Started
maybe
you-
also, I can share that with you because I am acquainted with your Prema auntie. But I would perhaps I would like to believe Supriya ji will also be able to do her wizardry and share the, I can give my presentation, I can give my speaking notes as well. Always happy to circulate it.
Actually,
Hopefully,
I shared in chat box YouTube link and our WhatsApp group link.
oh, I see. Okay, okay, got it, got it.
Please go and check it. Once again, I'll share this YouTube link.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, no, absolutely. Let me also just share my talking points as well as the script onto this conversation window. So in case anybody wishes it, they can take it they can take it as and when and however they like. So yes, Premanti, very much doable. Let me just send that to you right away.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, most welcome.
Maybe quick last question, because generally we have panchacharas, activities, all those things. Why is it 6 times in a Chidambaram temple?
So the Shatkala Puja is the suggested is the sampradayam that is dictated and asked by you could say it is asked by Bhagavan in that particular kshetram. If we go across various temples in Tamil Nadu, one will see that there are, say, temples which have Dvikala Puja, they have Trikala Puja, they have Chaturkala Puja, they have Shatkala Puja as well. One possible explanation is that each day for us coincides to be, say, maybe a minute for the gods or something on those lines. So that is why the intent is to keep praying to Bhagavan and keep telling him that we remember you. You are our only refuge. So you please take care of us and protect us. That is one explanation. But at the same time, if one goes to various of the larger temples in Tamil Nadu, one will find that the Shatkala Puja Sampradayam is a very popular and famous one.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully
Any
that
more
answers the
questions?
question. Yeah.
Okay. Please check the chat box.
Yes,
Sarah has
please
sent.
check the chat box. The PDF of this session and also my script, which I have used, are available for each one of you in case you would wish it.
Mm.
Girish, very nice, Girish.
Usha ma.
Oh, Husha Aunty, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making it as well.
Like it is so refreshing. Though I heard it that day in I forget her name, but second time when I hear also it seems so fresh, and I think now everybody in the group will think that after one narrative, no, you should arrange for a trip to those temples.
Hopefully, Husha
And
Aunty.
then
Because
everybody
Ambika
will
Aunty.
relate to it well, like of course I know it's a big thing to take in a group, but especially with senior citizens is going to be even more difficult. But
Yeah.
maybe once in 3 months or once you can think of such things, some two temples nearby, then that correlation will be more, we can correlate it more, like we have seen the temple, in fact we all went together. I'm thinking, recollecting all those things. So just thinking like maybe at least some of us may think of coming with you, and at that time when you explain it is more, even more interesting.
No, absolutely, Auntie. Hope to do that. Hope to do that. It was in Ambika Auntie's home, Ambika Anandji, who is also here on the call and who is very kindly taken time to come here. It was in her home that, I
Yeah,
done
yeah,
this.
yeah. Yeah, last time we had one in her house and we heard.
Yes, yes, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We
Thank
can
you.
also the comments.
Okay. I
We
think
can
we can wind up here, sir. It's
Yeah,
already.
sure.
Any more questions? Last call. Any questions, queries? Okay. Thank you, Girish, sir, for insightful journey into the cosmic beauty of Chidambaram Nataraja. We are very grateful for those things. You have narrated very interestingly. Thank you. Thank you, one and all, for joining us today. And see you all next Saturday for another inspiring creative weekend talk. Thank you.